So the players here today have heard the theme basketball in life, repeated many times, called the Taylor sermon. So for 3,000 basketball practices and 2,000 track practices, I've attempted to use sport to teach about life, knowledge, hard work, fair play, honesty, enthusiasm, and being a role model is the least that I can.
In our lives, we meet a few that truly influence us and impact our lives. And Rollo was one of those people. I had heard of Rollo through my high school basketball coach. His advice to me, which was excellent advice, was, hey, when you get there, the first guy you have to look up is Rollo Taylor. And I did. Our very first game was against the varsity. I'm 5'8½", and I towered over my running mate at guard. Analytics told Coach Taylor, you don't play two little guys at guard. He allowed us to start that first game against the varsity, and we ended up beating the varsity. And of course, afterwards, he had a nice talk for all of us. It was again very encouraging. And then he took myself and my running mate, Chub Bill, aside. He gave us a hug and he said, you know, nice going, men. Don't expect this every week. He also was a disciplinarian. He wanted to make sure that we were a disciplined team. The other thing that we worked on every day were the fundamentals of basketball. I can't imagine another team working harder on the fundamentals of basketball than Rollo Taylor coached team. You have to work, and his word was to gather, whether it was offensively or defensively, rebounding or our offensive set, work together. So he created a family atmosphere within our team, which is really his legacy, family. It's so easy to say great things about great people, and there's not much more to say other than truly Rollo Taylor was a great man.
Well, Ron, I guess I got one of the honors that nobody else did. I spent 4 years with Rollo.
In the fall of 1978, we had pickup basketball games in preparation for the upcoming season. I planned to go out for the freshman team. And, you know, I kept hearing about this guy, Rollo Taylor. He's going to be the coach, Rollo Taylor. But there hadn't been a Rollo Taylor sighting for a long time.
Soon here comes a guy walking in, big bushy mustache, great big bushy mustache, cup of coffee and dance slippers. And I thought, holy buckets, are we in for a long
He'd always say, we don't need any Lindberghs. And if you remember, Lindbergh was a solo pilot, and so he didn't want anybody, you know, going one-on-one. We're going to do this the team way. The following year after I played, I tried out for the varsity team. I got cut. I was the last guy cut. Rollo said, well, you know, we want to keep you around, whatever. And he says, why don't you keep stats? You know, that's the type of person he was. He always would find a way to include people. And then just after that, I got married and had a child right away. And he knew that, you know, being married with a young one, that financially was going to be tough. And he said, Dan, there's some scholarships you should apply for. And he helped me get 2 scholarships back in, you know, the early 80s that were worth $3,000, which was a lot of money to me. I mean, he just did countless things like that. He provided me with an opportunity that I'll always cherish. We had 14 guys on our freshman team from all different backgrounds. All these guys came together and we had a fantastic time, and Rollo was the leader.
Yeah, it's Rollo, R-O-L-L-O. And that's the complete name. My mother did it to me, and all I can say is I'm Rollo and Rollo is the candy.
asked, did anybody else in your family go to UW La Crosse? And I said, no, there's 8 of us. There's 8 kids in my family, and I'm the first one to go to college. And he says, great. And I kind of look at him, he says, now you can start a legacy right here. Some of us had to play both freshman and varsity because they just didn't have enough guys. So we practiced freshman for 2 hours, and then we go practice varsity for 2 hours. So I got to know Rollo pretty well. And then the first game my freshman year, back then you could only play half the freshman game because you needed to be fresh for the varsity game because if they needed you. So at the end of the freshman game, they send me down, get my varsity uniform on. I come out, and I tell you, I didn't plan on playing. I'm sitting there, I still had my shooting pants on, and I hear my name, Kusky. I'm in. Oh my God. So I got to take my pants off. They weren't the snap pants. You had to pull the pants off and get my jacket off. And I walked by, and I must have looked really nervous because Rollo was sitting right next to Burton. And Rollo looks at me, looks at him. I'm like, okay, here we go, you know. Rollo gets up, puts his arm around my back and says, take a deep breath. It all starts right here. And I kind of looked at him, he looked at me, and he says, don't be nervous, just play defense like you know how to play defense. So about 3 minutes into the game, timeout, come back to the bench, sit down. Rollo grabs my arm and he says, you killed it, kid. And our relationship from there has been, that's the way it was. He was your friend and he was your coach. He took 12 to 14 freshman guys every year that they were the first time that they were away from home. Between their relationships and between school and between all this stuff, homesickness and stuff, he had to mentor all that.
I think the friendships that you guys have are really the most valuable part of freshman basketball, to be very honest with you.
Really early in that stage, there's a gal that comes in, her name's Kay Taylor, right?
The better certainly has been the association that we have had with all you guys and how much fun we've had poking fun at you.
She was a mom to us. So Rollo and Kay were like our mom and dad away from home, and that's kind of how he treated everybody. He treated us all like your son. Once you became a player for Rollo Taylor, you became a son.
I wasn't sure if I was going to go out for basketball. I wasn't recruited and I didn't know any of the coaches. So I asked a few guys, you know, hey, what do I need to do? I didn't know any of the routine. And they said, well, you just got to go meet Coach Taylor because he'll take care of everything else. I had a tendency as a player to throw a few passes that didn't always end up where they were supposed to be going. And I recall one time I did that in practice, and I know he motioned and pulled me over to the side, and he had said to me, I saw what you saw. And I understand what you were trying to do. The problem we have here right now is that your teammates didn't see that. So I think you just need to slow down a little bit, let them get used to you, and things will work out. And I always took that to heart from the standpoint that I thought I was going to get chewed. And here this guy turned it around into something that even though he corrected my behavior, he did it in a way by saying that he understood me. Outside of basketball, he did a lot of things. He offered guys help. I know in my personal experience one time, I had a little trouble with one of my dance classes, and I think he kind of overheard it, and he just notioned to me, stop by after practice and we'll go over those steps. And he actually helped me pass that class. He always made, at least our freshman year, he made most of the freshman team run in the Oktoberfest fun run. And that was very early on a Saturday morning. So you had to be over here at Mitchell Hall and get on this little shuttle bus and he'd bring you over to the start. And of course we'd all do the run. But after many years, I kind of thought, you know, there might be a little dual purpose to this whole thing. And it was not only the conditioning, but I think he knew if you were going to make that run in the morning, you couldn't be out that Friday night messing around and getting in too much trouble. So I think he had a dual purpose there, and I'd always wanted to say, well played, Coach Taylor, well played. We were very fortunate in my year that Todd and Terry were students. They were fellow students at the same time. They were involved in the program, and they helped in all kinds of facets, especially like statistics. And of course, we had the younger Tracy coming up behind them. We kind of felt right in that niche where we got the whole Taylor family.
Our first inductee has made a significant impact everywhere he has been, and the Boys and Girls Club has reaped the benefits of his involvement. Since becoming involved with the Boys and Girls Club in 1987, Rollo has served as president of the board of directors, chairman of the benefit auction, as well as volunteering in many special events with his wife, Kay. In 1995, Rollo received the prestigious National President's Award from the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. His dedication to the club and to his family is a special quality that is hard to equal.
I came down to La Crosse when he was inducted into the Wall of Fame. And of course, there were a lot of people being inducted. It was very crowded. I fought my way through the throngs of people to get up there to congratulate him. And as I was walking away, I heard him say under his breath, he goes, "Wow, I must have done something right." And the guy that was being inducted sitting next to him said, "Oh, was that one of your players?" He goes, "No, that was the guy I cut." Ironically, the first class I had with Rollo was a basketball class, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I get to have class with the guy that cut me. And so I went into that class with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, but I soon realized that I was sadly mistaken as far as judging Coach Taylor based on cutting me from basketball. He was by far the best instructor I ever had. After that first class, I tried to take any class I could. I took a jogging and fitness class with him, and I hate to run. Even though I ended up never teaching a FIAD class my entire life, you know, some people thought, well, is that a waste that you spent 4 years pursuing a FIAD degree? And it wasn't, and the main reason it wasn't is because it introduced me to Rollo Taylor. There was nothing phony about Rollo. He never tried to be anybody other than who he was. He was always sincere with students, and he always put students first. And you know, sometimes there are 3 or 4 people waiting to see Coach Taylor. Even though we're big kids, we still need our parents. And so Rollo was a father figure to many of us. The 2 men that impacted my life the most are my own father and Rollo Taylor.
Kay and I are the luckiest people in the world.
God bless you, Rollo.
Everybody loved Rollo. I never heard one person other than myself say anything negative about Rollo, and that was only because he cut me. But I mean, he was just, he's just a great guy. I wish he was still around. I miss him.
The coach instills character traits that they believe will bring team success. Loyalty, enthusiasm, initiative, self-control, confidence, poise, and ambition. And to me, these seem necessary to succeed in other segments of a person's life. So what does this mean? It means dare to make a difference, stand up and fight for what you believe in, work hard to succeed knowing that you will also face defeat sometimes, and it's okay to be humble. Losing doesn't make you a bad person, so you need to keep losing in perspective. Treat people as you'd like to be treated. Be a friend, be part of a group, and as Kay teaches her kindergarten students, none of us is as smart as all of us. None of us is as good as all of us. So find your niche and do it well. Even freshman basketball coaches can go in the wall